we are going to play a game today. We are playing Senator. Now, I know probably a lot of people don't like to do this, but I like to listen to the hearings from like Senator Hawley and other people and Senator Kennedy. And I'm always wondered what it would be. But I've always wondered, like, this seems like it would be a really good drinking game because the witnesses are always saying sinner, sinner. So great ideas, or opposite, bad ideas come from something. Anyway, so the whole premise of it is we have a drink. It is a strawberry Rita. I am 31. And then so every other time that they say Senator, I'll take a sip of this. And then because let's not get super trashed, even though I don't have to work next to tomorrow or whatever, let's drink this. It's Powerade. I'm not sponsored by either one. Sponsor me. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Hi. Hi, how are you guys doing? So, for those who have just come onto the stream, we are going to be playing a game. It is called Senator. So, I listen to these hearings. Hi. I like to listen to the hearings, and I've always wondered, I think this would be a wonderful drinking game. Because they're always saying Senator, the witnesses are always saying Senator, Senator, Senator. So I have a strawberry Rita in here, strawberry Rita mixed with ice, crushed with ice, frozen drink, and then between every sip, I'm going to be taking a drink of, like, if they say Senator, I'll take a sip of this, and then I'll take a sip of this after everyone. This is my favorite drink. It's awesome. So, care to join along? Sounds like a fun time. It legitimately should be a game. I feel like that should legitimately be a game. So, let's get this ball rolling, shall we? All right. We are going to be listening to Senator Hawley. He is my senator. He is the bomb. I like him. Let's find him a good one. Hi, how's everyone doing? Hi.
Senator Ollier.
Hi. No, I said hi. Happy birthday, Hector Galileos.
I have to say, I'm kind of amazed that we're holding this hearing. To me, it's remarkable that the idea of actually, as you were just saying, Maura, the idea of enforcing our laws, protecting our border, securing our streets from criminals, it's amazing that that's controversial at all. And it says something a lot
Hi,
about the other
Sadie.
side of the dais
Hi,
that we're
Sadie.
having this hearing today. Let me just ask you, Mr. Raitham Melnick, I mean, is it really such a bad idea to deport people like the criminal who killed this young man? This is Travis Wolf. He was 12 years old when he was killed. He was mowed down, and I do mean mowed down, in a car by an illegal immigrant, 12 years of age, walking along a sidewalk in my state of Missouri, mowed down by an illegal immigrant who I think also had a prior criminal record. Is it such a bad idea to deport the person who killed him?
Any person who commits a heinous crime should suffer the consequences under the law.
Good. What about Officer David Lee? Officer David Lee was killed in Missouri just a few months ago by another illegal immigrant, once again in a car, who used it as a lethal weapon to ram him and kill him. Is it so wrong, such a bad idea to deport the illegal immigrant who killed this good man?
Again, any person who commits an awful act should face the full force of the law.
We've had multiple stabbings in the state of Missouri at laundromats in O'Fallon, Missouri, where innocent civilians were going to do their laundry of an evening and were attacked with knives, slashed, bled, stomped upon. Should the illegals who do that, should they not be deported?
No, as I said, if you commit an offense, you should face consequences. But the overwhelming majority of the 13
We've had officers assaulted in Kansas City on the other side of the state who have been assaulted by illegal immigrants. One officer required over 100 stitches to the head, a police officer, earlier this year. Should the illegal immigrant who did that not be deported?
Again, they should face the consequences of the law, but they are a very small minority of the population that President Trump is promising to deport.
Well, let's talk about the rest of the people who you don't want to be deported. You said in an article that you wrote recently, new report shows devastating costs of mass deportation. You wrote this in October. Do you remember this piece?
Yes, that is a summary of our report.
Yeah, so in this piece, and it's also in your written testimony, you talk about how much the economy will lose if the United States actually enforces our immigration laws and deports folks who are here illegally. And I want to quote you now. You say some industries would be particularly hard hit, including construction, agriculture, and hospitality.
I'm good. How are you?
Which combined would lose more than 2.5 million workers. What's the argument here? That there aren't American workers who are available to do those jobs?
No, and as I said previously, there likely are, but the issue is that...
And you don't want their wages to rise?
I think that we want to pass a path to citizenship so we can have a level and fair playing field for every American.
Why would you want American citizens and those who are here lawfully to have to compete against illegal immigrants who, by the way, are often paid not minimum wage, who are not given the federally mandated benefits precisely because they're here illegally? Why would you want to drive down the wages of millions of working Americans who can't get those jobs in construction, agriculture, and hospitality because illegal immigrants are getting them, suppressing wages in the meantime? Why would you want to do that?
Well, if you didn't hear from my initial testimony, you know I don't want...
Oh, listen, I read your testimony word for word, and I've been watching it, and I know what the answer is. You don't actually care about working people because you're absolutely hell-bent on this ideological.
Senator Hawley, you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks again to the witnesses for being here. Mr. Secretary, nice to see you. I didn't get to
You're
visit with you
here,
last time, so
too.
let's start with you. I think my colleagues have established, given what we're seeing on the southern border, the massive increase in illegal.
I'm sorry to say this, but there's a 10% gap. Oh, what's on my... So, we are playing a drinking game. It is called Senator. We have to find, that person is really annoying. That person who keeps saying whatever they're saying. I'm gonna ignore them. So, I like to listen to the hearings of these people, and they always are like, Senator, Senator, Senator. And I'm thinking, this would be a good drinking game, man. So, if you are over 21, join me. I have a strawberry Rita, where did it go? And a Powerade. I know this isn't alcohol, but, yeah. Drink responsibly. I did. Please stop. Anyway, just so you know, Trump has given us the most, our border is like literally has like 0% of illegal people crossing it right now. So say what you will about that. Anyway. Woo! Anyway, I have a strawberry Rita. It's really good. Alrighty, now let's see.
There, but that's clearly not a priority for your agency. So let's talk about what appears to be, and that is spying on Americans and censoring their speech. You have turned your agency into a censorship machine. Now, you said earlier this year that you disbanded the disinformation.
Okay, so can everybody who wants to play this game hear the volume? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear.
Governance board, which I thought was totally unconstitutional, but that turns out to be at best misleading. That's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what you're doing. Your own quadrennial review, which was just reported in the press, says that disinformation is going to be the new focus at DHS. The Quad Review says that DHS plans to target, I'm quoting now, inaccurate information domestically on a wide array of subjects, including, quoting, the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, the efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines, racial justice, U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, and the nature of U.S. support for Ukraine. This is what you're devoting your agency's resources to. So I guess my first question is an American citizen who criticizes COVID mandates now to be treated as a domestic terrorist?
Of course not, and I'd like to say three things since you have three inaccuracies in the question you posed to me. Number one, border security is a priority of ours. Number two, the
Say Senator, say
speech.
Senator, come
Number
on!
two, we did not publish the quadrennial review.
Does it exist, the quadrennial review?
I believe it is being worked on.
Well, it's been published in the media. Will you make it public?
When it is final, it will be public.
Mr. Chairman, without objection, I'd like to enter this article called "The Truth Cops," published in The Intercept. Here's my question then. If you're not censoring speech and if you're not treating Americans as domestic terrorists, then why is it that you're pressuring big tech to treat American citizens as if they're threats to the homeland? Why are you pressuring them to censor speech? Let's take a look at some new documents that have come to light that show what your administration is doing, this administration is doing to censor speech. Let's take a look at this email from July 16th, 2021. It's over my shoulder here. Facebook emailing HHS saying, I know our teams met today to better understand the scope of what the White House expects from us on misinformation going forward. Are you familiar with that email?
No.
Let's try another one.
And if I should...
Hold on. We'll get to that. You're not familiar with this, all right. Let's try a different one. Here's one from July 20th, 2021. The White House emails Facebook saying, any way we can get this pulled down. 46 seconds later, Facebook responds, yep, we're on it. Are you familiar with that email?
No.
Okay, how about this one? July 23rd, 2021. Facebook employee writes to HHS, says, thank you for taking the time to meet today. Wanted to make sure you saw the steps we took just this past week to adjust policies and what we are removing with respect to misinformation. Are you familiar with that one?
Senator, we do not.
Oh, yes!
Just yes or no.
No, because I'm the
Okay.
Secretary of DHS.
Well, I'm asking you that because it's funny you say that. A federal judge has just found as a finding of fact, Mr. Secretary, that your office, and I'm going to quote
Yeah,
now,
I'm
is
gonna grab
supervising
the other one.
nerve center of federally directed censorship. It's a federal judge and a federal lawsuit. You are supervising the nerve center of federally directed censorship. Here's another email, August 20th, 2021. Facebook writes again to HHS and highlights that Facebook is increasing the strength of our demotions for COVID and vaccine-related content. April 16th, 2021, Rob Flaherty at the White House circulates a Zoom meeting invitation to Twitter employees
Oh my
stating
gosh.
White House staff will be briefed by Twitter on vaccine misinformation. We have example after example of this administration coordinated, apparently, according to a federal court, by your agency, pressuring, coercing social media companies to engage in censorship. Is that constitutional?
That is unequivocally false.
Is what the emails show.
It is unequivocally false, Senator.
You are not pressuring the big tech companies to take down accounts. You are not meeting with them to ask them to censor
Oh,
on your
man.
behalf.
That is correct. We are not.
You're not having any meetings with them whatsoever.
We meet with.
It's a
the tech
lizard.
companies
How often?
To address.
My mom and dad got this from Cozumel.
How often do you meet with them?
For example, online child sexual exploitation is a scourge in this country, and we have an obligation to address
Thank
it.
you.
You're saying that no one in your office has ever met with, coordinated, or otherwise engaged in any contact with a social media company in which you spoke to them about vaccine mandates, about COVID mask mandates, about the withdrawal from Afghanistan, about the current U.S. involvement in Ukraine. None of that has ever happened.
I don't know what you're referring to, Senator. and I
Yes.
Read the emails.
And I can tell you this, well, you've actually cited emails outside of our department, but if
I've cited a federal judge who says your department is engaged in supervising the nerve center of federally directed censorship.
time
Here's
to
my
get
point,
Archie.
Mr. Secretary. It has been established
Yes,
for
buddy.
years in this country, as you very well know,
Here.
because you're a lawyer, that the federal government may not use private third parties to engage in activities that are unconstitutional. That's exactly what you and this administration are doing. You are leveraging private companies to carry out censorship on your behalf. It's dystopian, but worse than that, it's unconstitutional.
it's also false.
So you say, little girl.
Senator Hawley, you're recognized for your question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to the witnesses for being here. Director Ray, let me start with you if I could. I think the last time that I got
Do you
to
guys
visit
see
with
the
you
cat,
was
Archie?
back in August 4th of this year. You were at the Senate Judiciary Committee. You remember that, I assume. We had to cut that hearing short. We're supposed to
No.
do 2 rounds of questions. You said you had to
Oh,
be somewhere,
I missed
so
it.
we cut it short. Republicans were not able to ask a second round as we had been informed we would. The press reported shortly thereafter that the reason that the
This one's boring. Where's the good ones? I gotta find these good ones. Oh wait, I think I know. It's Kennedy's. Kennedy's always has the best ones. Senator, Senator, Senator. They're crazy. And we love them for it. Okay. Who? I know I missed it. I was trying to get the cat. We'll put it on Kennedy. Kennedy also has some pretty good ones too.
Mr. President, with me today
Oh, I had Hot Pockets, and I'm having pasta with some tomatoes.
Senator Kennedy.
I mean, I'm not smoking weed. I'm just drinking. Trying to decide. Never listen to representative people do their hearings. Let's listen to representative people. Let's listen to if he has it. Maybe.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations, gentlemen. I thought I would just start down here and then move this way, if that's okay. Judge, what is the rational basis test?
Senator, I believe the rational basis test is going to be one of
Woo!
your least stringent tests, and whether a law has a rational basis for the outcome intended or the governmental interest that you're trying to obtain.
That's a better drink.
What if the legislature or the Congress, as the case may be, doesn't list a reason? What if they just pass the statute?
Senator, I would submit that that probably happens many times, and I think it's the role of the court when determining such matters as a definition. I think it's the role of the court to determine whether the use.
I think because they see Josh Hawley or Senator Hawley as a young buck, they're not going to call him senator unless like they're trying to stop his role. Did he just say senator again? Did he say it 3 times already?
Senator, I would submit that that probably happens many times, and I think it's the
That
role
one,
of the court when determining such matters as a definition.
I drink the
I think it's the role of
Powerade.
the court to determine whether
Every other drink, I don't drink this one. I drink the Powerade. So now I'm going to drink this one when I
the
do it.
usage of that statute, using its
No.
wording in plain meaning, whether the use of
No, because we already agreed to it. I told you the rules in the beginning. Besides, I'll be out of it if I drink it all.
of that statute is going to reach the governmental interest that you hope is obvious, but sometimes you have to determine.
So you just create the basis, the reason for the statute?
I don't think that you create it, Senator, but I don't think that
See,
most statutes, to be honest, I don't think that they tell you what they are trying to accomplish so much as they say, this is the law. For example, possession of a narcotic. It's going to say it's illegal to possess this. We determine if there's a rational basis that
I get it.
towards the ends of the governmental interest.
Well, how do you determine if there's a rational basis? Do you look at the statute?
You're
or do you
fucking
look behind
trying.
the statute?
Well, I think that you always look at the statute. Now, I think you also look at any other precedent or case law that is interpreted the statute. However, you look to the language of the statute to determine what it does and what effect that might have.
Okay. Counselor, let's suppose that, that a legislature passes a statute that says, if you have a college degree or a more advanced degree, you don't have to take a driver's license test. And let's suppose that assume for a second that the federal court has jurisdiction over a challenge to the constitutionality of that test, of that statute rather. What test are you gonna apply, Counselor?
Senator, that would be a classification that doesn't turn on any sort of protected characteristic, and so it would be a rational basis test that would apply in that instance.
You don't see any suspect classification?
No, Senator.
You don't see any fundamental right?
No, Senator.
Okay, what if the legislature didn't provide, so you would use the rational basis test?
I would, Senator.
And you would uphold that statute?
I think there could be some rational basis that a court
Thank you.
could conceive of to justify that statute, and rational basis is not.
Yeah.
So you would invent the rational basis, the reason for the statute?
That's generally how the test has been applied by the Supreme Court and by lower courts, and as a district court judge, I would be bound by that Supreme Court precedent.
Okay, it's a new guy.
Judge, tell me the difference, sir, between notice pleading and fact pleading.
Notice pleading, of course, goes to your due process issues under the 14th Amendment.
What's the difference between notice pleading
Thank you.
and fact pleading? We use two systems
Yes,
in
sir.
America, as you know.
Yes, sir. Notice pleading is based on, of course, that goes into your jurisdiction, your personal jurisdiction, and then the fact pleading, of course, goes into your subject matter jurisdiction.
What system does the federal judiciary use? Notice or fact?
No, fact.
Okay. Judge, I'm about out of time. Can I have 30 more seconds, Madam Chair? You heard me talk to the nominee for the Third Circuit about how she would interpret the Constitution, and she said that the Constitution should be interpreted according to its meaning as understood by the people in America
Yeah.
at the time the Constitution
They
was
didn't
passed.
say
Do you
no.
agree with that?
I do, Senator.
Okay, let me ask you what I asked her. How do you square that with Brown v. Board of Education?
I would adopt a lot of what she said, actually. I believe the 14th Amendment, as it came in, addressed.
The 14th Amendment was later.
It was later. It was a.
Can you turn your microphone on, please?
Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that.
You turn your microphone, asshole.
I do too, but when my friends, and I'm a textualist as well, but when my friends say, well, we have to interpret the Constitution in accordance with
Nobody
the
wants
way
to
the
hear about your
average
sexual
American
orientation either.
viewed the Constitution at the time. I said, okay, that seems fair to me. Do you think that the average American at that time looked at the Constitution and supported and believed that it provided for racially integrated schools? Do you think that was the majority view at the time?
Senator, all I know is Brown versus Board
Woo.
of Education is good law, and it was correctly decided.
And why do you think it was correctly decided? I agree with you, but why?
Well,
If you interpret the Constitution by looking at its public meaning at the time.
separate was not, it was inherently unequal. not equal.
It was what?
I just don't believe that there's any appetite in this country for any type of de jure type of segregation. I believe
At the
that
time?
is-
The Constitution was passed?
I'm talking about right now. I believe that it's.
No,
good
but I
law,
mean,
Senator.
okay. I'm going way, way over. I'm sorry, Counselor, I didn't get to you.
No problem, Senator.
Senator Kennedy.
It doesn't count for
Professor,
when they tell, it
congratulations.
has to be the witness.
I believe you testified that you think the Constitution should be interpreted according to its original public meaning. Is that right?
Yes, Senator.
What does original public meaning mean?
Yes, Senator. So the original part of that phrase refers to the fact that when we look at interpreting a text, we want to interpret it at the time it was.
So put me in line to answer my question. What does original public meaning mean?
It means the meaning that the text of the text as it was understood by the public at the time it became law.
Okay. So you think Brown v. Board of Education was incorrectly decided?
Well, Senator, I think Brown versus Board of Education was correctly decided. Scholars who have looked at the original meaning of phrases at that time and the reasoning in that case sometimes question the reasoning
How
of
many
the case.
people in the United States of America at the
I
time
did.
the Constitution was drafted?
I'll be out of
do
this
you
drink
think
if I chug it.
supported racial integration of schools? You think that was a majority view, do you?
Well, Senator,
Oh, come on.
Do you-
At
do
the
you
time-
think- but first, Professor, do you think that was a majority view? Do you think most Americans at the time the Constitution was drafted supported integration of public schools, right?
well, Senator, I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
as a
Whoa, we gotta stop.
What percentage of people thought what at that time? I should point out.
Did she say
that when we got to
senator
Brown versus
again?
Board of Education, of course, there had been several
But isn't
fundamental
that
amendments to the.
inconsistent with your statement that you have to interpret it according to original public meaning?
Well, what about the 14th Amendment and the 13th Amendment and the 15th Amendment? So original public meaning would
But
mean
what
that
about-
those, well, that would mean we would interpret those amendments and those protections with the understanding of the text and structure at the time those amendments were ratified, which is different, of course, in the 19th century.
Let's go back to Brown v. Board. Look, I think Brown v. Board was correctly decided, and I suspect you do too. But if you say we interpret the Constitution according to the way that people at that time understood it,
We'd all be
do you
living in
really
fucking
think that
caves,
people At
man.
that time in America supported racially integrated schools?
No.
Do you really
Well,
believe that?
Well, Senator, I think at the time of the ratification of the 13th, 14th Amendment and 15th, all which
But
had.
do you think people at that time supported integrated schools?
Well, Senator, on
I
that particular
did.
question, I don't know as a policy matter whether they were thinking about that particular issue. I think they certainly understood that the 14th Amendment, for which a massive part of this country essentially lost lives fighting the Civil War, certainly understood it to
But,
require racial
Professor,
equality.
You're not answering my question. I'm trying to understand I'm just trying to understand how you think. It's very easy to say, we interpret the Constitution according to its original public meaning, which as I appreciate your testimony, means the way people who read the Constitution at that time interpreted it. Is that right?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. Do you think that most people at that time looked at the United States
I'll
Constitution
take you at your word.
and said, well, here it is, big as Dallas, racially integrated schools are required? Do you really believe that?
Senator, I don't know, but
And if you don't, I don't think you do, because I think historically that wasn't the case.
well,
So how do you square that with the whole
I
deal
know.
around the board?
I guess what I'm trying to say is I think there are several steps in between that have not come up yet in our conversation, which is that you look at the text and structure, which of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments clearly is requiring racial equality. And then over time, that has to be applied to different questions as they arise in context. So
Excuse me,
if
guys,
the
sorry.
requirement is that all races be treated equally under the law, and the evidence shows that segregated schools is not doing that, then the requirement could be applied to integrate schools.
Is it live?
Interpreted
I'm on
statute.
live right now,
You
but
talked
we're
about
watching this
interpreting
via the TV and the
according to this
volume.
plain meaning. What if the statute
This is on YouTube
ambiguous?
actually. Senator Kennedy.
Well, Senator, if the statute
What do you do if it's ambiguous?
if it's ambiguous on the particular question coming before the court, I start with that phrase, but I also look at the context of surrounding provisions.
No, how I understand you define ambiguity as the language plus the surrounding language.
Yes.
I get that part. How ambiguous does it have to be? 51% ambiguous or just a little bit ambiguous?
So I have to say, I would use the same approach essentially in all cases, regardless of the ambiguity, because I would always start with the text, move to the surrounding provisions with the aim of fully understanding what Congress and the President had enacted. And only at that
Professor,
point.
I'm gonna run out of time. With respect, answer my question.
Well,
Okay, you're giving me professor talk. How ambiguous does it have to be?
I mean, I think under the Supreme Court's recent precedent in Chevron, it underscored that the court can never just rest and say it's ambiguous. The court has to come up with an answer.
Yeah,
So
so
I
why
would,
don't you just look at legislative history?
well, you can't look at legislative history of statements one by one because
Why
the
not?
individual
Why not?
intent. Well, Senator, with respect, because this
Oh my
body
gosh.
has its role in our system as an institution, not one by one. So your personal understanding of the
You don't-
law doesn't
This will
matter.
be my last question.
He doesn't want to answer. She doesn't want to answer.
Coons went way over. So-
Coons went.
Doesn't
But
help
you went
a
over-
lot
well,
to go
well,
through
Coons
and
went
look
way
at the
over.
congressional record or to read the committee reports or any of that. You don't think that's helpful in interpreting what a statute means?
It depends on the way in which it's being read. If it gives helpful statutory
You gotta love
history,
Senator
if it
Kennedy.
helps to refer to
Well,
other
Coons went way
portions of
over,
content,
so
sure,
suck
but
it.
not to give it legally binding impact in and of itself. I would always be looking at a broad range of sources and use each of these statements as just one piece of evidence about what people understood the statute to mean at the time. So no, I would never take a piece of legislative history in isolation and give it legal impact.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Meredith, you worked for Governor Bevin.
Yes, Senator.
You were his lawyer.
I was one of the lawyers in the office, Senator.
Okay. Governor Bevin issued some controversial pardons, is that right?
He did, Senator.
The FBI investigated those pardons, did it not?
Yes, Senator.
No, he
That's
did.
right.
Yeah, I did it again.
Did the FBI file charges against Governor Bevin?
My understanding is they did not, Senator.
Okay. Did you advise Governor Bevin on any of those controversial pardons?
The only controversial pardon that that I advised him on was one for Mr. Urban Edge, and I recommended that Mr. Edge not be pardoned.
And was he pardoned?
My understanding from reading news articles is that he was.
Because the governor didn't take your advice.
Apparently not, Senator.
Okay. But you didn't have anything to do with any of the other controversial pardons.
No, Senator.
Okay. If the New York Times, Mr. Meredith, published an editorial, I suppose it said, Senator Kennedy is a bad senator. We don't like him. We think he's a good
She's just patting it.
And I
We'll
called
all
the New
get
York
rich.
Times. And I said, okay, I want to write a letter to the editor replying. Can the New York Times tell me no?
I believe that they could tell you no, Senator.
Well, what if I said, if they told me no, I said, okay, I wanna buy a full-page ad that says, not an ignorant slut. And they said, can they do that?
I think the First Amendment would allow them to exercise editorial discretion and control over the types of ads they want to sell.
You think it's purely a First Amendment case?
There could be, I mean,
You know, I think there are potentially other laws that could govern how they make their decisions to sell ads, but I think if they're wanting to, if they're making a decision about whether you can buy an ad that says Senator Kennedy's a good senator, I think they've I think the First Amendment would allow them to
Okay,
exercise.
suppose I'm running for reelection after this editorial, and I go to my local television station and I say, I'm gonna run a political ad. And they say, no. The New York Times says you're an ignorant slut. We're not gonna run your ad. Can they do that?
I think that's governed. That's governed by different laws pertaining to the airwaves, which are
Oh,
the
what's the
statutes.
Constitution?
That's right.
How can a news organization deny me the right to reply to an editorial that denigrates me, but yet I have a right to run a television ad that says the New York Times is wrong?
I think as in order to have permission to use the airwaves, I think federal law requires TV stations to give equal time or equal opportunity to buy.
Why is
ads.
that constitutional?
Well, it's constitutional because my understanding, at least, is that the federal government controls the airwaves. Essentially, are federal property that the federal government can regulate and authorize the use of.
Yeah, but the federal government has to abide by the First Amendment, doesn't it?
It
I
does.
don't know. Explain to me how the New York Times can say no to me wanting a right of reply, but a TV station can't prohibit me from replying.
Senator, my understanding of the law is that the airwaves would be a public resource that the federal government regulates.
You think they're a common carrier?
You know, I don't know the law on this specifically, Senator. I don't know that the common carrier analysis would apply there. Perhaps it would. I don't
Well,
know.
suppose I have my cell phone service with AT&T, and I call AT&T, and I say I want to expand my cell phone service, and
Gosh.
they say nope. We read that New York Times article. You can't do it. Can AT&T turn me down?
I think theoretically they probably could.
No. How? Why? What
Well,
basis?
Well, I take that back. You're right. They probably can't because it's the same thing.
Why?
They're using the airwaves as well.
They're a common carrier, right?
That I think that analysis probably applies there. That's right.
Okay, Mr. Mercer, can Congress pass a law that says cities are no longer able to participate in zoning? We're going to take it over at the federal level because we don't have enough houses. Would that be constitutional?
Senator Kennedy, I don't believe it would be.
Why not?
I believe that's the sort of thing that the Constitution has, not given Congress the authority under Article 1 to do that, and in fact,
Why not? On what basis?
in our system of federalism, those things that are not set forth in the Constitution are reserved to the states, and zoning is one of those quintessential public health, safety, welfare matters that we reserve to local government to resolve. And so I don't believe it would be permissible for this body to attempt to codify something in that
And
regard.
so local government would win in that instance.
That is my understanding.
Okay, suppose local government came back and said, that not only now that we've won and we have jurisdiction over our own zoning and our own housing laws. If you want to build a new house in our city, the permit is now $50,000. Can they do that?
Senator, essentially, I think the same analysis applies. I think that the local government would have the ability to establish
I'm looking at my
that,
cat.
and
My cat's
I don't
over
think
there.
Congress could overrule it, and I think they would have the inherent authority to do so.
Why isn't that a taking under the United States Constitution and the Fifth Amendment?
Senator, that would be a whole different analysis, but I don't believe.
Same analysis. We just established they have the right to zone as they wish. And so and to regulate local housing. They're doing it. They're saying $50,000 to get a building permit. You're telling me that's constitutional?
I believe, Senator, I believe it would be. I think that they could establish that they need, in order to
His name is
engage
Archie.
the permitting process and go through what they need to do as a local government. I doubt very much whether that would be a violation under a compensable taking under the Fifth Amendment.
You familiar with Sheets v. County of El Dorado?
Senator, no, I'm not. That is not something that I've encountered in my practice.
The Supreme Court struck down a $23,420 fee for
Yeah,
for
he's
a permit to
orange.
build a home.
I was not familiar with that precedent, Senator. I'll make sure.
At some point, local government, which has wide discretion when exercising its police power, at some point, their actions can step over the line, can they not?
That is true, Senator. And
violate what? The
well,
takings clause?
in this case, I'm not familiar with if Sheets was based upon the Fifth Amendment or if there was some other analysis, but
It was Fifth Amendment.
okay.
Y'all hungry? I am.
Yes, Senator.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, thank you. Thanks to all the nominees today. Written questions for the record may be submitted until August 6th at 5 o'clock. We would ask you to respond promptly. This hearing is adjourned. Congratulations, gentlemen. Mr. Tong, you were asked about some of the things you said back in college. And one of the things that you were asked about was a statement you made in 2004. I believe that women are simply better than men at some things. Did you say that?
I did say that, Your Honor, Senator.
You said that you believe that women are better at some things, right?
That's right, Senator.
You didn't say women are worse at some things, did you?
I did not say that, Senator.
Just want to be sure I understand. How is that denigrating women?
It was not denigrating women, and I did not intend it to be so, Senator.
Yeah. I mean, you said they're better at some things. If
Did
you
they
said
ever
they
say
were
that?
worse at some things, you would be denigrating women, wouldn't you?
I would, Senator.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know if I asked you this, but you didn't say they could do things worse. You said better, right? Just want to be sure I understand.
That's right, Senator.
Does the government have free speech rights?
Government does have free speech rights.
How so? The First Amendment doesn't mention government, except to the extent that government it is there to protect, for government, for us to have protection against government restricting our speech. How can government have free speech?
Senator, you are right to the extent that the First Amendment refers to Congress. Congress shall not make any law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. But there is a government speech doctrine that allows the government to convey a political message it wishes to, and the government is not committed to a policy of neutrality at all times.
Have you ever been to Boston?
I have been to Boston.
Okay. You seen the Boston City Hall?
I believe I have, Senator.
There's a plaza in front, and there's some flagpoles. And Boston.
Once I run out, I'm
when
not
different
gonna. I'm gonna
groups
stop the live
are
stream.
having protests.
I'm
and
not trying to get
demonstrations,
sick.
Rallies on the plaza allows those groups to fly their flag. Someone wanted to fly a Christian flag, and the city of Boston said no. And the Supreme Court And the city of Boston said, that's our choice, that's government speech. We don't want to fly a Christian flag. So
Actually,
how
I'm gonna put
come
the Powerade
Supreme
in
Court
there.
said that they had to fly the Christian flag if government has free speech?
Senator, if the government opens up
I
its
know, I
plaza
know.
to all comers, so to speak, then it's restricted under the public forum doctrine in terms of what viewpoints
Well, that sucks.
it would decide to favor or
That's
not.
not necessarily so, is it, Counselor? I mean, let's suppose Texas, this actually happened. Someone in Texas lets people buy specialty license plates. You know, I love little warm puppies and stuff like that. You can buy a specialty license plate. And somebody wanted to have a specialty license plate that pictured the Confederate flag. And Texas said no. And the Supreme Court said Texas doesn't have to do it, government speech. So isn't that inconsistent with what you just said?
Senator, it is not inconsistent. This
Probably
area of law
not.
is
I'm only
extremely
online whenever
complicated. When something qualifies
I have,
as a public forum,
did you
such
say
that
Senator?
viewpoint discrimination might not be allowed, versus a public benefit and public conditions that the government can rightly impose on others, on its recipients, then that shades into government speech, in which case the government would have more control over what kind of speech gets projected into the public square. But there is potential for tension there between the two doctrines that you raised, Senator.
The chairman's gonna gavel me to shut up in a second. I just want to be sure I understand. Back at Yale, you said there are some things that women are better at, right?
Yes, Senator.
Not worse,
That's right.
better.
Yes, Senator.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kennedy to kick us off.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Judge Dudek, did I say that name right?
That's correct, Senator.
All right, what's the warrant requirement?
Well, before the court would issue a warrant, you have to assess to make sure that there's probable cause to either search the place.
When's a
or-
warrant required?
Excuse me?
When is a warrant required?
The general rules of warrant is required anytime that the government wants to search
thank
a
you.
person, place, or thing.
Could you speak into the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry, Senator. Yeah, I said the backdrop rule is that a warrant is required anytime the government wants to search a person, place, or a thing.
And to arrest you, right?
There are some exceptions to that, but generally, yes.
Okay. And there are exceptions to the warrant requirement for searching and arresting people, are they not? Are there
There are.
not?
Yes, Senator, there are.
Okay. Suppose the Florida Supreme Court ruled that here in Florida, we're not going to recognize any exceptions to the warrant requirement. You have to have a warrant.
Well, I'm
to
gonna
search
go,
someone.
guys. It was
You have to
nice.
have a warrant to arrest someone. No exceptions.